I teach a class once a week for an hour. I teach high school kids photography. It's been really rewarding, but as I've been doing it, I've thought that I should probably put my lesson plans into my blog. Nothing I'm going to share with these kind of beginner series are going to be revolutionary to somebody who knows photography well. So if that's you, you can stop watching now, but if you are someone who's kind of newer to photography, particularly if you are new to shooting outside, dealing with the sun in full daylight, when kind of that's all you're left with, then you'll probably get a lot out of this. I'm going to go through a series of light situations or lighting scenarios that I typically use when I'm dealing with full sun. As I record this, I apologize for the goats, our family goat in the background making a ruckus, adding to the ambiance. But anyway, we can't always shoot at golden hour. Sometimes we're just left with, because of scheduling or otherwise, we have to shoot at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And when that's the case, lighting can be challenging. So I'm gonna go through a series of scenarios when dealing with 3 p.m. lighting or, midday lighting. And from my least preferred scenario to my preferred scenario, and hopefully give you some tools for dealing with not great light. Okay, you got stuff on your head. All right, I'm here with Hadley. Say hi, Hadley.
Hi.
She's my little model, and today we're going to talk about light and how it affects faces in the summer. So the sun's about right there. Generally considered terrible lighting, and I'll show you why. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna shoot her, hey, can you turn around? What we call cross-lit, so where the sun's hitting half of her face. This is generally considered the worst thing you can do in lighting. You can see right now the sun's straight on my face and it creates these dark circles under my eyes. It's not very flattering, but it's even worse if I'm like this. So I'll show you that. I'm going to shoot Hadley with my 85mm 1.2 Canon with the 6D. Okay, come over here, Hadley. Let's show them what happens. Now look up. Look at me. So pretty. Towards me. More. More. Good. Right there. Okay, now look at me. Look at me. So as you can see, that's probably the worst thing we can do to a face. You'll notice that there's deep raccoon, we call them raccoon eyes, where it's dark shadows under the face. One side of the face has harsh light, the other side has dark shadows. Too much contrast, not very flattering. So now let's do it where she's completely in the sun, full straight on sun. This way. Close your eyes, and then open them. Ready, go. So as you can see, that's a little better. Not quite such harsh contrast, but there's still some raccoon eyes, and the biggest problem is she's squinting. It's really hard to get someone to look their best in full sun. So not great. Let me show you maybe a possibly slightly better way to do it. Now look at me. Good. That's so good, Hadley. Can you tilt your arm towards me? Not that far, half that far. So that's a little bit better. In fact, that's what I try to do if I have to shoot someone in full sun. I try to get the sun to their backs. There's still two things that I don't love about backlit subjects with the sun at their back. One is that they tend to, they still kind of look flat. There's not a lot of dimension on the face, at least for my preference. The other thing that's hard with the sun at the back is that you're gonna have blown out highlights. And what that means is that there's places where it's just pure white, there's no data that's collected in the camera. And that's not something you can really work with. Those places are just completely white. You can't recover those in post-processing. And it's not necessarily ideal. But again, in a pinch, it's better than having the sun directly on their face, or worse, cross-lighting them. Okay, so now we're gonna shoot Hadley in full shadow. I like full shadow a lot more when I have to shoot in broad daylight, because I can bring my own light and I can play with it a little bit more, and I can have control over the situation. The sun, when it's completely high in the sky, it just kind of runs away with photos, and so I like having that as less of an influence on how I control the scene and how I control the look. So I'm going to show you first off just straight shadow. So her face will look similar to how it looked when she was backlit, although the difference here is that we won't have any blown out highlights behind her. So we'll do that next. Yes, okay, look at me. Good, Hadley. Okay, so that's full shadow, and for me that's more appealing than what we've seen so far. Now, some people might disagree with me. This is my preference, this is just me and what I feel and how I feel about light. So next I'm going to show you full shadow, but a little bit of light in the form of a reflector. This is one of the cheapest way to get off-camera directional lighting to give a little dimension to the face. So I'm gonna be my own assistant here, and I'm gonna use this reflector. This is a 4-in-1, 5-in-1, I don't know, 5-in-1. These are great. I'm gonna just use the silver because I want a little bit more light so you can see a difference. A lot of times I'll unzip this, I'll flip it around, and I'll use the white side because I just want a kiss of light, and I also don't want my subject to have to squint or be blinded. So for me, that's usually what I do. I get that white side and I get it really close to their face just to give a kiss of light, just a little bit of dimension. But I'm going to use the silver just so you can see a difference between the full shadow and when I use a reflector. So I tried it with the silver, and it was blinding her. I'll show you that picture. Some subjects can do it, and the trick I do is I'll have them close their eyes and I'll say open it on 3, and then I'll snap the picture as they open it, and usually they can last a few short seconds without having to squint again. But I don't like to do that too much, and I prefer the white side anyway, so I'm going to show you with the white soft reflector so we don't blind her. I think there's plenty of sun that I can reflect off this white side to give some directional light. Again, a kiss of light is all I'm after. I don't want it to blast her, so we'll try that. This is my no assistant technique. Balance on the knee, hold with this hand, shoot over the side, steady on the arm. This only works with children. Look at me. Oh, do that again. Stand up and flip around, and then look at me. Turn around, and I'll flip around and look at me. Good. Close your eyes. Close your eyes, and on 3, smile really big and open. 1, 2, 3. You're being goofy.
Goofy?
Goofy! Look at me. Look at the camera. Oh, I love that look. Sometimes you gotta let them be goofy, you know. Parents ruin, I know this isn't part of the lighting technique necessarily, but I feel like parents traumatize their children. Well, this isn't necessarily part of the lighting video, but if you noticed, Hadley was being kind of kooky and crazy, and you gotta go with that with kids. You gotta let them just be a kid. The worst thing that a parent can do, or a photographer, is to start getting impatient, is start telling a child that they need to smile, dang it, or, you know, or else, no ice cream. I get so tired of parents in photo sessions doing that. It takes a lot of patience, a lot of encouragement. You gotta take breaks, let them have fun, get back to it, have them tell you a joke. You'll start to notice that in between the goofiness, especially if you start laughing with them, that they will give you normal looks and happy looks too. But pressure, I mean, when you start to threaten a child, make it a poor experience, or berate them for not giving you the look they want, then I deal with those children as they get older, and I try to do portrait sessions with them. A lot of them hate getting their pictures taken, and I think a lot of it is because of what their parents did to them as children, trying to get them to smile. Anyway, that has nothing to do with lighting, but I wanted to share that. Rant over. Okay, so next thing I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you some continuous lighting. Continuous lighting is nice. I haven't told you much about my settings, but I've been shooting at ISO 100, f2.0, aperture priority. So basically the shutter speed dictates itself. And the reason for that is because I really like bokeh. I like a lot of blurriness. I even don't mind it fading around the ear line and going back. As long as that one eye is tack sharp, I don't mind a little bit of fade. So that's what my settings have been. The reason I like continuous lighting is because I can continue to shoot with aperture priority, meaning my shutter speed can be 1,000th, 2,000th of a second, and I don't have to worry about it. Whereas if I'm using flashes or strobes, I need to stay under the 200ths or the 250ths of a second. So for some continuous lighting, I've just got the Yongnuo YN600L LED panel. And you can see when I turn this up. Now this thing doesn't do a lot of good outside in the sun. You have to get pretty close. This is more effective because it just doesn't put out a ton of light. It's not as powerful as the sun. It's not as powerful as flashes or strobes. But it'll do the job if you're in good shadow or if it's evening. And it looks like I've got one of my bulbs out, bummer. So I'm gonna use this just to light her up. Again, just a kiss of light, as I'll show you.
Does he hear me?
Yeah, he hears you.
But why is he still crying?
I don't know. Hey, little girl.
I like your jokes. I'm a little cute cup.
Oh, you're so cute. Okay. Oh no, your hair came off. Great, her hair came out, and I don't know what I'm doing with hair, so I'm just gonna put it in a ponytail. You'll get the idea.
Every video that you did.
Yeah, you like all those videos? Good. Okay, so last on my list of things to show you today is just shooting with flash. I won't show you strobes, I'll do that in another episode, maybe a studio lighting episode. But I'm just gonna do one flash with just a reflector umbrella. There's a lot of modifiers I could use, but this is the one that was handy. So this is my preferred method of lighting. However, it comes with a little bit of a price. Because my shutter speed has to stay below 200ths a second, my aperture has to compensate for the tons of light that we have. And so I can't shoot quite as low. I'm going to be shooting at about 3.5 aperture. So not a huge price to pay, but the other thing I need to do is I need to be a lot steadier. When I'm shooting 1,000th of a second with aperture priority, you know, the camera's a little more forgiving if I move around. But with this, I've got to hold a lot more steady, especially with an 85mm. Good. When you do it, okay? Hold on.
I have a better speed.
Oh, do it again. Over here. Oh, I like that one. You're so good at this. Let me see what we got. So that concludes all the lighting scenarios I wanted to kind of step through. Obviously there's lots of other ways to do light, particularly if you have more of a budget. One thing I want to point out is that everything I've shown you today can be used for under $100, $200. You don't have to go really expensive to do really great portrait work. There's obviously, you know, thousands of other scenarios and other light modifiers and options available to you. But I would say that these are the basics to try to master before moving on to some of those other things. And realize also that bang for your buck, after you spent the couple $100s to buy these lighting tools, you're going to be spending progressively more, exponentially more, to buy better lighting. And it will only get you, you know, The funny thing is, it's exponentially more expensive, but it's reverse exponential the amount of improvement you can get to your photos. Now, details matter a lot, and I'm not suggesting that you know, mastering, you know, really expensive lighting tools and techniques won't refine your photography. Certainly it will, but what I am saying is that you'll get most of the way there for your needs, professionally speaking, with any of the lighting scenarios that I've shown you today. So just for a final review, I'm going to show you each of the photos that I took with each modifier, one after another, so you can kind of see the progression. You may decide that you like the quality of one over one of the others. Another thing I didn't really mention is that obviously the power I use, any of those modifiers, for instance the reflector, I could have used it at a different angle to get more or less light on Hadley's face. Same with the continuous lighting and the flash. I could have changed and adjusted, I could have moved it forward, moved it back, and all of those things affect the light and shape it around the face. I'll do another episode where I talk about shaping the light. But really but just know that there's a lot of variance. So I am going to show you the photos that I took, once again, back to back. But know that just because one might seem harsher than another doesn't mean I couldn't get a softer light with that approach. So again, any of these scenarios are great and you can take great pictures. The key is to experiment. That's all for now.